yet another day here where we're seeing some really, really strong moves in the equity market.
Yeah, well, we're up 6 days in a row here on the S&P 500, and so we've seen quite a bounce in those days. It feels like that soft landing we're talking about a lot. Is it possible that that is exactly what's happening? We'll see what Jay Powell has to say next week at Jackson Hole.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's fair to say that investors really like the retail data the retail sales data that they got earlier today. Walmart and Walmart commentary about the American consumer certainly helping to lift the markets as well.
Yeah, good news is good news once again, because last Monday, bad news was bad news, and then we turned into bad news is good news.
I can't keep track of that.
Exactly. But you know what the real catalyst is going to be, I think, next week when NVIDIA reports earnings. There's still earnings coming up from a big tech company.
Yeah, next week, Jackson Hole. Don't forget that. We got to get through that before we get to NVIDIA. I still think the bond market's quite interesting. I was really flummoxed by that move as well as the equity move. Are they saying the same thing? Or are they saying something different? It seems like Seth Carpenter, Morgan Stanley guys, was talking to us that it's all about slow, not slump, and that from that perspective, we're all kind of on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, we should point out volatility has been tamped down quite a bit. I was just taking a look since that blowout a couple of weeks ago in the VIX. 7 of the past 8 sessions, we've seen the VIX drop, and now today, right around that 15 level, so actually below where it was before all of this really started to pop off all the way back at the end of July. The numbers here for the day are going to please a lot of equity investors. Green across the screen with the Dow Jones Industrial Average back above 40,000, up 560 points on the day, or about 1.4%. The S&P 500 up 88 points, or 1.6%, while the NASDAQ is going to close out the day higher by about 2.4%. And the Russell 2000, look at this, outperforming just barely by about 2.45% on the day.
Yeah, fascinating, right, to see that. In terms of, I'm going to go back to the big caps. I mentioned the S&P 500 up 6 days in a row. That's about a 6.5% gain along that. And then if I look at the S&P 500, Scarlett, you've got most names in the index, 414 to the upside. Tim had a really hard time finding decliners.
I know. I was thinking that too. Poor Tim. We'll give him a few more minutes to look for some decliners. But and that's really largely mimicked in the sector performances as well. 9 out of 11 sectors in the green, led by consumer discretionary. So those include your retailers, your home builders, as well as your car makers. Ulta Beauty leading the way there. Tech also gaining 2.5%. Materials, a surprise third place entrant there at 1.5% advance. And the laggards, REITs and utilities were a little changed.
A lot of green there. All right, let's go to Walmart. Let's start with that name. Up about 6.5% in today's session. We know it was a top name in the S&P 500. The company raising its sales guidance for the full year. They talked about consumers buying necessities, seeking deals, even as they curtail spending elsewhere. But that upbeat outlook really gave investors some reasons to buy that one. Cisco up almost 7% here. Again, a top gainer in the main indices. That company rising the most in more than 4 years, at least on an intraday basis, the company gave a bullish revenue forecast for the current period, also announced plans to cut thousands of jobs as part of a strategy shift. We know that this has been going on. Scarlett mentioned Ulta Beauty up 11%. It is, or at least, it's the number one gainer, folks, in the S&P 500. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway disclosed that it took a new small stake in the cosmetics retailer. That was a 13F filing. Their shares, they bought more than 690,000, and that stake now may be worth about $251 million today. So a big one. I should mention Paramount too, also gaining, of course. The Seagram heir, Edgar Bronfman, saying to be preparing a bid for Paramount Global. I just wanted to throw that in, up about 7% today.
Yep. Invest in your face, guys. Invest in your face. Okay, Applied Materials coming out with the third quarter earnings. Net sales beating estimates, coming in $6.78 billion. You also had adjusted earnings topping estimates, coming in at $2.12 a share. Shocker. President and CEO Gary Dickerson saying the race for AI leadership is fueling demand for our unique and connected portfolio of products and services, positioning Applied to outperform over markets for the longer term, that AI play.
All right, shares of AMAT down by about 1.2%. In the meantime, I was able to find a few decliners out there. They were few and far between. Thank you to Carol Massar for quite a bit of help on these. Not every retailer higher today. Look at what happened at Dillard's, down 10.8%. Fell on Thursday. This after the department store company reported net sales for a second quarter that missed the average analyst estimates. Comp sales fell 5%. Consensus estimate was 2.9%. Men's accessories and shoes were the worst performing categories. Grab Holdings, the largest of Southeast Asia's ride-hailing and delivery firms, shares fell today by close to a little more than 7%. This after the company reported revenue for the second quarter that missed the average analyst estimate. And look at this one, Spire Global. It's not a company we talk about each and every day. We have had the CEO on our program. They're a space-based data analytics and space services firm. Shares tanked, falling more than 33%. This after the company notified the SEC that its 10Q for the quarter ended June 30th will be late. They're going to reschedule their second quarter results conference call and announce the timing once the filing date of its 10Q is confirmed. Investors responding accordingly.
All right, well, we had a pretty dramatic sell-off all across the bond curve, particularly in that front end, guys. The 2-year yield moving the most since April 10th of 2024. Yields really popping higher and holding on to that gain all throughout the day, guys.
All right, guys, thinking about, we've always talked about getting together, doing a road trip or class trip together. So I have one for you.
We did?
We could do it between August 26th and September 2nd.
Who's driving?
If we go on New Jersey Transit, we could do
Transit?
I don't know about that.
We could do this ride, and, it's going to cost us nothing. So wouldn't that be a lot of fun?
What better way to thank the passengers of New Jersey Transit, at least according to Governor Phil Murphy, than offer free rides after the chaos of the summer? My question for you guys is, how does this help with sort of the crunch, the budget crunch?
It doesn't.
That the transit is facing as a result of, well, a lot of things that have happened for many years?
It's just like, look at something bright and shiny here. Free rides.
When nobody's going to be on transit because everybody squeezes in their last vacation days that weekend, right? Or around that time.
As a New Jersey resident, are you impressed by this? Are you disgusted by this?
Do you know what I think? My taxes are going to go up because that's one thing that happens a lot in New Jersey. I love you, Governor Murphy, but
this doesn't cut it, does it?
No. What do you guys got for us?
Well, there's a new study that's found that Americans appear to be pulling money out of their brokerage accounts to fund online sports betting. For every $1 spent on sports betting, which is legal across most U.S. states, net investments in stocks and other financial instruments dropped by just over $2. Again, an academic study, but Romaine, do you think this is more correlation than causation?
Is this why we've been seeing the decline in volume in the equity markets? Let's face it. We always joke. Look, we have a lot of great people on Wall Street that we love, but we also know there are a lot of degenerate gamblers on Wall Street. So I think the Venn diagram between the type of people that would, take their money out of the stock market and go to the casino or vice versa, that's pretty strong.
Well, also, I feel like it's what they're measuring, right? Meme stocks, say, versus sports betting. But what about like zero-dated options? Like that, the retail share of that has been expanding, right? In the article they point out it's over 18%. So is it really apples to apples in that sense?
What sport are they betting on, though?
Any sport, I think.
Anything.
You can bet on anything.
I don't know. Yeah, I think there's a
Like
correlation.
I do wonder if we're going to start to see.
Whatever there's a line on.
I do wonder if we're going to start to see because gambling used to be something that was constrained to Las Vegas, constrained to only certain areas of the country, and now it is everywhere. It's on apps. It's so easy to do. I do wonder if we're going to start to see some sort of widespread pushback.
You could, but there's also the argument that people who are involved in gaming would make, which is it's not gambling, it's entertainment. People who are putting their money into sports betting don't necessarily expect to make money, but if they do, bonus. Otherwise, it kept them busy for a couple of hours.
You can lose a lot of money.
Yes, you can.
It's only gaming if you win, right?
There's a real reason why it's a business, right? That these companies are in business because the house wins. It makes me.
There's also a reason they call it gaming and not gambling.
True.
The connotations are different.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, the connotations are completely different.
It's the American Gaming Association, not the American Gambling Association.
But here's my point. It's your money. Can't you kind of do with it what you want? Is that bad to say? Like if you want to bet on a meme stock or you want to bet on boxing, then you can go ahead and do that?
Yeah, as long as you're not using meme stocks or sports betting to fund your retirement, sure.
But you could also do that too, and then that would just really suck for your retirement. But I'm just saying, it's not apples to apples.
Sure you don't want to join me on New Jersey Transit?
We're really sure. Yeah, but thank you so much for offering.
You're very
Carol.
welcome.
We very much appreciate your generosity.
We can take it to Atlantic City.
Oh.